All right, welcome back to another episode of iSocial Talks Special Edition. We're talking to the founder of TACTspace Sensory Messaging, and we've actually discussed multiple different blabs on really the tool, the application. We've walked through a couple different use cases, including military, including healthcare. We walked through and really crowdsourced some ideas from different people. And so today is the last one of our series of use cases where we're really going to talk about how sensory messaging kind of implements or fits into education. So as we get started, Eddie, you want to give people a kind of a background on just a quick update on what the tool is, what the sensory messaging is we're talking about with TACTspace as you, the founder, and then really where you think education plays. And then we'll bring in some people that are watching here live. And if they have questions, comments, or ideas on where this fits in education, we'll kind of bring this to the masses.
Sure. Brian, look, just a shout out to you really and what you've done for our campaign and our company. You guys that are following or maybe listening to this recording, Brain Fanzo is a great guy, to start with, but also he has a incredible presence, on Twitter and Blab and Periscope and all those streaming technologies. His heart's in the right place. He's a Virginia boy, so he can't be all bad. I'm very thankful, Brian, for everything you've done to help publicize TACTspace. And the main reason you tell me is because you believe in it, and that means a lot to me. So look, TACTspace is a mobile app in the first place that pairs with a wearable technology that allows a person to send what we call a sensory message or a TACT message, TACT, short for tactile, from one person to another in a way that instead of like a text that you have to type and read, a TACT message is one that you can actually feel through this wearable. So it's not complicated technology. It's not requiring a different platform or a different infrastructure for it to work. We have a proof of concept device we've demonstrated on Blab sessions in the past so that the audience is able to send TACT messages as well. Brian's holding a little wearable device. It's a 3D printed puck. It's about the size of a quarter. We let and tell people they can wear their TACT puck anywhere on their person as long as it's in contact with their skin, so then they can feel the message that would be sending. So sensory messaging is discreet. It can be worn in a way no one else can see or know that you felt this message. It's always paired to your phone, so if you receive a message through different stimuli and you might not interpret it right as far as who sent it or what message was sent, you'll always be able to consult the TACTspace app and be able to see in your log who sent the message, when, and what it meant. So like Brian said, we've been opening it up to the audience a little bit. I've been trying to do less talking and more listening, if you will, as to how other applications in different markets, user markets, might make sense for the product. We've done a session on military and security applications, which was earlier this week, and some people chimed in and joined the Blab and really kind of blew us away, I think, in some ways. We've done another session on understanding in healthcare what opportunities there might be to improve the patient experience, and maybe either with the use of the product for doctors and nurses to alert themselves to do different things. And today we're going to talk about education in general. So I sure hope there's some people on the Blab today that are in education or maybe have kids that are still in school, because I'm not quite sure, to be honest, how much this type of technology is used in schools or could be used in schools. And if you know someone, let me just go ahead and welcome everyone. If you know someone who is in education and may be available to join the Blab, please invite them, and thank you for everybody for joining. Again, my name is Eddie Bugg, and I'm the founder of a company called Tactonics, developing a mobile app called TACTspace and a wearable device called the TACT Puck Brian was showing you earlier. Looks like we've already got a guest.
Yep. So this is Jed. Jed's a good friend of mine, and Jed actually works with a lot of college campuses on with his company and implementing social media. Also does a lot of speaking in that space also a big live streamer. But I thought Jed might, Jed, we're talking really about this idea of sensory messaging, kind of going beyond. I know you've seen some of the sessions that we've done with Eddie before, and really kind of education was something that people had brought up on saying, right now, kids either have devices or kids have, their phone in their pocket or in their book bag, but there isn't really a connection between like a wearable tech. Let's say even if you were doing something where the teacher was able to dictate messaging down to different students, or one of the other use cases was actually if a kid was at school and they had to take medicine during certain times, they could actually have their device inside of their phone inside of their book bag, and have an alarm set on their phone that would actually alert them on their person and say, hey, this is the message that you're receiving. So I wasn't sure, I know you work in this space a lot. Have you seen much wearable tech at all in the education field?
So I see a lot of experimentation with wearable tech, just early adopters trying new things, and a lot of it ends up coming up gimmicky. But I really like this product because of its size, because of its capabilities. In terms of being adopted in the university space, I really see some opportunities in research. So there's a lot of research opportunities there, but that's not like a mass market thing. That would certainly, if you became a popular item to be used in all different types, because it's all different types of research: psychological research, health and physical research, anything that. I mean, there's so many research opportunities for this type of product. But so that's one area I'd see in the university side. But in the mass market area, one of the things that I've been watching and studying over the last couple of years is how students have kind of moved off of common platforms like Facebook. Some say they've adopted Instagram. Instagram, I think, is just an addition to what the college kids are looking to be fulfilled for through electronic communication. So I'm a communications that's my realm. And so you've seen some networks really gain popularity, particularly among college students, like Yik Yak. Now, I'm not sure that you've heard of Yik Yak. I know Brian has. But what it is, to me, what the popularity of Yik Yak means to me is that students are craving an alternative communications platform.
Yeah.
And they're using their mobile device as that's the only thing that they can, turn to is their mobile device. And so that limits them to whatever apps are available to them on the mobile device. And so Snapchat and Yik Yak seem to be the top apps right now that are really in the mainstream, but they're still desperately seeking alternative ways to communicate with one another. So if you could brainstorm use cases, or even just get college kids just playing with it and trying it, because I don't think you'll ever guess the use case that the college kid actually comes up with. But they are craving different ways to communicate with their friends, and in that age group, maybe not even just in the college scene, which is still a pretty big market, but just that age group in general is looking to move away from typical apps and go into some alternative forms of communication and I think they also prefer private networks, which this could be. So
there's a couple questions on the side here that Patrick had asked. Is it it communicates Bluetooth to the device no matter where you're wearing it, but because the device has multiple different sensing sides, so it can vibrate, it can light up, it can alert, but it also will allow you to actually message back to your device to actually send a message back to the sender, and it also even has, I don't know if we can see the little tab there on the device as well. So the tab actually allows for another side of that sensory side. Now, someone had asked about, Mark Levy had actually asked about the beacon technology and any integration with beacon technology. Eddie, I don't think there is anything today, but I don't think that's something that isn't possible in the near future.
Right. So all good questions here, and maybe we could throw up the website at some point, because there's some wonderful videos on there that explain the technology kind of at a high level in general, and you can see potential applications, but it also walks you through how the technology works. So not to repeat this very long, but TACTspace allows you to use a simple mobile app that's free and downloadable to pair your phone to the wearable device called the TAC Puck that Brian was showing you there for a minute. That's your puck. You wear it on your person somewhere. You invite your friends to join TACTspace just like you would Snapchat or something like that. So you determine which friends, which contacts, which tactors you're going to allow in your network, like a private network, as you said. And then to be able to send a message, it only takes 3 steps. It's almost like Snapchat. You open the app, you choose the person you want to send the message to. That way you'll know that they've got their TAC Puck on and they're wired, if you will, ready to receive a message. You select the message that you want to send from a pull-down menu. So a message like I love you or I'm thinking of you might be a combination of stimuli that would be like, let's say, a heartbeat vibration pattern along with a red light around the outside LED halo, and maybe a tone that, would be something to say, I love you or I'm thinking of you. So through the senses of touch and the sense of sound and sight, you're able to get this sensory message. That message is the same message, the same stimuli that would mean I love you or I'm thinking of you all around the world. So that becomes part of this new language. And maybe, Jed, you could comment on this. And not only could it be a private network, but it's almost a private language, like an underground language that people not only would know and understand. That's what I think. But they could develop it and grow it.
Well, especially because, like for me, I think of it as anybody who downloads the app can send a message to anybody who has the puck. So it's a many-to-one or a many-to-many relationship in the sense that it allows you, as the downloading of the app, to actually send that tactile message. So if you wanted to message, let's say one of the things for me for education, so my wife's a teacher, and actually she just left the house this morning to take my 2 youngest daughters. I have a kindergartner and a pre-kindergartner, which is crazy that there's a pre-kindergarten concept. But the idea of something as simple as my wife maybe running after-school program, and all of the kids that are in the after-school program have the TAC Puck on them, and they're in the after-school program. My wife, when she arrives at the school, could send that message to the TAC Puck, alerting all of those kids with a certain vibration. So 3 vibrations and a light up means that the person's here to pick you up, and allowing that kind of communication in that one-to-many, but also allowing it from the sense of, if you had we had talked about it in the healthcare use case. If you had my grandmother is in extra care facility, and the fact that her grandkids, all 13 of us, are around the U.S., the fact that any of us could send her a message while she's sitting there, in her home, maybe feeling disconnected, and it's not sending a text because she doesn't do text message because it's tough to read, and it's not sending a phone call because that means a hearing aid and a whole process. So there is definitely something. So the code would actually be, so someone's asking about understanding the code. So the code would actually be what you are setting up as the person, either as the TAC Puck user or the actual person sending it. So it's that relationship. So you would look at the TAC Puck would actually say what that message is. So whatever your vibration, whatever that is in that unifying language between the two, you'd actually define that either by the user or whoever's using it, because both people would have to understand that 3 vibrations and a light up means that whatever that is, but it would be something that that person would actually initiate. But I think Costa's joining us.
That would appeal, Brian. I think having your custom messages, like programming your own custom little secret codes, would be very appealing to people, because even if the device was in someone else's hands at the time, they would have no idea what that message was. So I think that's really appealing.
Very good point.
I'm going to pop out for a sec, Brian. I see Roberto Blake's in the room. I think he's a super creative guy, and I really respect his opinions on things. I think he'd be a great guy. Roberto, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you have some ideas about this, I'd love to hear what your first take is on this, because I saw you jumped in right before we went through the recap on.
All right, thanks, Jed. So Casa,
Thanks,
how are
Jed.
you? Casa, so
Hey,
Eddie,
pretty good. Nazim here. How you guys doing? I'm in the
Nazim
office.
is joining us from Italy today, so we have a worldwide blab going on for sure.
There you
How's
go.
it going,
Now,
Nazim?
basically, we're working with Estimate beacons on a project specifically for a museum here. So that's why when I saw the title, it was like, whoa. And I'm looking at your TACTspace. How long? When was the Indigo launched? Recently?
Yeah, the Indigo was launched about 2 months ago, 60 days ago, and it expired on Monday of this week.
Okay. And so basically, we're at the point where it's ready to go.
Well, the campaign is over. We did not get funded to our full goal, so it's not ready to go. Instead, we are still looking for funding to be able to get prototypes made and move forward.
Yeah, I saw the prototype diagrams. The diagrams.
Right, and one of the pivots we're making, Casa, is to try to recognize that there might be spaces, there might be user groups like education, like military, or perhaps other pockets of use that we could get funding, maybe through a grant, a government grant, or a sponsorship like that, to be able to get the prototypes developed and get those out. Our strategy for the campaign was to make about 3,000 pucks in a minimum viable product, get it out into users, and be able to immediately get that kind of feedback. Right now, we have a patent, a utility patent that was just granted 2 weeks ago, finalized, to protect sensory messaging and associated technology. And we have a working proof of concept device. So on previous Periscope sessions and other live streaming sessions, I've demonstrated that proof of concept device. It's very, very simple to use. One point of clarification I want to make is that when you download the app, and anyone can download the app for free, you would be able to see a already prescribed menu of common messages. Common messages like happy birthday, meet me at work, time to go home, take your whatever. There would probably be, I'm going to say, 50 different messages that are very commonly used as text messages today. And the code, if you will, the stimuli pattern that goes along with that particular message would be already determined. It already be governed. It already say on there, and that way everyone would begin to use and adopt this language. However, you've already brought up a great point. So did Jed. You will have the opportunity as the user to be able to create your own TACT message. So if you have someone you know and you want to be able to send them a unique message that's not in the menu today, you simply create that message, you add the stimuli associated with it, and you and your partner, whoever it is that's going to be receiving that message, would understand what it meant. And in time, we see the language expanding and growing as people want to see more messages added.
Very interesting, because kids definitely love to hack with these things. I mean, the more options they have of being able to tweak it and personalize it to themselves makes them even more interesting.
So, so there was a question. Donald Brand had asked Eddie, is it GPS enabled? So I know it's a Bluetooth communication from the device to a smartphone at this time. They're also with the patent or with the idea of connecting directly to Wi-Fi in that kind of sense. But as far as GPS enabled, I don't know really the answer on that side.
Well, we don't. That's not the vision today, especially for the minimum viable product. So one of the things we're trying to do is keep the puck as small as possible. We want something that's very discreet, very easy to wear. Some people don't want to wear the bulky watches and strap on big devices, and I understand that. So we want to keep it small and elegant. GPS could be added, and again, might want that. If it's paired to your phone and your phone is GPS enabled, then you already have that technology. Think of the TACbuck as an extension of your phone that would allow you to be some distance from your phone, 30 to 50 feet via Bluetooth, and still be able to receive messages discreetly against your skin. Think of it that way. So the phone still has all of its capabilities that it has today. A smartphone has GPS already built into it. So the idea is not to duplicate technology you're already carrying and wearing. instead to extend that technology to
the
surface of it.
Sorry, at this point, we're talking about the range of about 70 meters, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's Bluetooth to device at the time. One of the use cases that I actually thought of when we were talking education, my wife being a teacher, I can tell you what I set up in my geeky world, right, is that in my geeky world, I have senses set up on social media with GPS fields around the school that my kids go to, as well as the school that my wife goes to. And if the word emergency or if the word evacuate or lockdown is actually tweeted or posted on social media in those local areas, I get notified via a notification via my social, because I am proactive, not reactive. So I'm very transparent. I post a lot of stuff online, but I really track that. But one of my worries is always, unfortunately, in the world we live in today, school shooting or a lockdown that goes on. And so one of the things I actually thought of that just kind of hit me now is one of the principals that I worked really closely with in Arizona. One of his big worries was, how do I notify teachers of something that's going on without it alerting the children and causing mass hysteria, right? And so they had even, did things like, they have a computer screen at the teacher's desk and it alerts the teacher. But then the problem was the teacher out in the schoolyard or the teacher in the hallway. And this is something that just came to me now as I'm kind of thinking through all these questions. The GPS idea, the idea of, so to me, the idea if every teacher had this on their person and they knew it, maybe it is even something that was attached to their badge that they wore or their name tag that they wore, and the idea that, hey, this, a consistent repeated vibration that does not stop for 30 seconds means we are going into lockdown, and they could actually take the necessary steps to walk the children in there, not turning the kids into a alert. Because I think there's something that we can't underestimate here is the discretionary aspect of it. Because in iWatch, I don't even know where my Pebble is. My Pebble died yesterday, so it's sitting around here somewhere. But the Pebble is, it's a wearable tech, but in all senses, there you go. Eddie has his Pebble on. It's I always like to call it, it's an endpoint. It's not an activation, right? Because there's nothing we really can do on our Pebble to send messages back and go back. I mean, there's a couple of things, but it doesn't. So I love that the idea that TACPuck could even, and this is something I'm thinking is, what if the principal could alert all the teachers, and the teachers could actually tap the TACPuck, acknowledging that they are now understanding that we are going into lockdown. Then on the device of the principal, they would actually see all teachers and how many teachers were notified, how many teachers accepted that notification, and then even continuing that so that actually you could actually do emergency response to the strategic areas that actually were not actually replying back. It wasn't something I thought of before, and it's interesting because I've been thinking about this education use case, but it was actually just kind of all these questions. They kind of walked into a really interesting piece of how because it's not really tracking, because I think tracking is the easy one. I mean, I use smart cards. I worked for the Department of Defense. I had a Pentagon card that they knew every square inch that I existed in the Pentagon. That was not anything crazy. It was a card that I had to wear on my person, but there was no messaging or no sensory messaging between me and Central Command, or Central Command just notifying me in that area. So that was something that just came to my mind as we were kind of walking this through.
Right. Well, I think you're a genius, Brian. We've talked about this before in the same space of healthcare. So doctors, nurses that need to be alerted, that there is some emergency, or maybe the nurses have code blue and have to report to a certain operating room, that kind of thing. And they need to be discrete messages that don't disturb all the patients, right? So you've got a great idea there. You can mass alert people discreetly, and then you already said it, you figured it out. If you just touch the button that's on the TACPuck, it will send a message immediately back to whoever the sender is. Now, it won't have a fancy message that, you don't get to type what message you want on the puck, but it will send a message back to the sender that simply says something like, I acknowledge I received your I acknowledge, I thank you for your TAC message, whatever it might be like that. So, Brian, that's a great way to take account. If there's a fire drill, right, and you send this message, or there's like you say, a security breakdown, and you need to send a message to people nurses, doctors, even employees. You know, if you've got a lot of employees you're responsible for and you need to get them out, you know, of your facility or get them to a meeting spot, there could be a message, you know, for that as well, that people would feel. And not only the discreet factor, yours is a great one, keeping it discreet, but even if it wasn't discreet, a lot of people don't have their phones on them all the time. I mean, they're in environments, they work in places, you simply can't have your cell phone. But perhaps you could have a that would allow you to be able to receive the message and alert you during the day.
Not to mention the devices of, this is going to sound really, the devices of yesteryear made it very simple for my wife to keep her iPhone on her. She now has a 6 Plus. The 6 Plus, the 6 Plus does not fit anywhere on what my wife would wear as a teacher, right? So, and Eddie, I talked to you about this. Even, you know, giving my, you know, being able to send my wife a message from me. You know, I'm picking the kids up for school, and she knows that if I send her a message and it's 2 vibrations, that means I picked up the kids, or maybe there's a way of letting her know because it's not being able to be interrupted. So I think that's very interesting. But Donald, thank you for your comments and questions in the box. Now jumping on. So did you have some questions or ideas on this, or?
Yeah, I do. It just reminds me of a couple of different devices that I have seen on Kickstarter and stuff, but also the whole idea of it being able to vibrate and you being able to keep it on your person all the time. That's pretty cool, because I find myself going out of the house sometimes and I'm leaving my phone at home, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm not going very far. I might just be going to the neighbor's house or something, or down the road, and I'm thinking, yeah, that would be really cool. But I also, did you mention that there's actually a sound? It can make sounds like, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Well, the idea is that it is discreet, you know, that it, and you'd be able, you know, to receive it in a special way. So your phone can make sounds. So we're trying to develop a different technology. We want you to be able to feel it. We want it to be quiet. However, I do think there's a place for tones in this message. Not a whole song or an MP3 play or something like that, right? But if you were sending a message of happy birthday, it could be accompanied, you know, with vibration, flashing light, and maybe a small tone that, you know, was uplifting.
Yeah,
and,
I like
and
the
funny
novelty of
that
that, because I remember those, you know, birthday greeting cards that you'd open up and it'd start playing a tune, and you look at it and it's like this little tiny wafer that's playing the tune, and you're going dun 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 dun, and you're going, wait a minute, that's pretty small.
Let me ask you a quick question. How long has this project been underway, that you've been developing this whole project from start in the past?
Yeah, great question. The company was founded in 2013. The product has been under patent review for 4 years. So it took about 4 years from the initial start date, meeting with the attorneys, and then going through the whole process. The, what do you call it, proof of concept device that you can read about on the website as well, that works. I mean, Brian and I have sent sensory messages back and forth across the country, from his phone to my phone and from my phone to the device. It's pretty intriguing. We could perhaps do that again on a Periscope or our Blab session. We could let all our audience be able to send messages to the small.
I have to tell you that the timing is perfect. So, I mean, we're getting here in Italy, everybody's already beacons, and everybody's like, that's the latest, but the Internet of Things. Everybody's like, we got to do this, we got to do that. How can you guys get involved? And like, well, there's this technology, there's that. So I think the timing is perfect on this product. Yeah.
So there's a question from History Needs You on what is, you know, from a standpoint, and I think that's I mean, there's a couple of things. So like the battery life and the idea, because this is, you know, if we're thinking about this idea, I think, you know, some of the questions or some of the concepts is, you know, I think the really interesting element here on sensory messaging, and we were even joking on our very first episode when I started connecting with Eddie, is how do you reach out and touch somebody in a world that is infiltrated, you know, with text messaging and all the devices and things that we go, that you actually do a message that actually goes beyond the basics of text or sound. And we even made the joke that in his patent for this device is actually even smell. So imagine that in a you know, but
in the context of what you could take it to.
Stink bomb.
Right. Yeah. And, or even like the idea of, you know, of you know, and it's, you know, there's so many areas there. But I think, you know, as the Indiegogo campaign was going on, and we've done, I think, 7 or 8 of these blabs across the entire campaign, what we're kind of defining is at first it seemed to be like a sensory message and wearables. And I think everybody that knows wearables still to me are a tech geek's friend. Our marketers are trying to figure out how a marketer could use it. And then really everyone else is kind of playing in it. And, the military is different. I worked in the military. I understand military is nothing new from like I had a smart, when I was in Iraq the first time, I had a smart watch that was on my person that was attached to a battery pack in my device. But I think part of what we're talking about here is how do we take what is a wearable technology today, which really to me focuses on technology for more technology advantages. And we take, let's implement a wearable technology that is actually enabling a human impact, where we're talking about a message that is a vibration, a hug, a light up, a message that is a correlation of messages. I was joking as someone that I've traveled now 7 of the last 8 weeks, and being able to send my daughter, my daughter, I FaceTime with them at night. But if I'm not able, and if I had this device around her teddy bear, or it was stitched into something that her blanket that she uses, and I could say Daddy loves you, and she knows that whatever my message is to her. Like, to me, that's a lot of these use cases. And I think in education, not only the mass use of it from that side, but even the idea of how today do we connect with our kids or those that are unable to have the device out, because my wife confiscates devices as a teacher, but being able to actually relay messages or connect with them in a way that does not interrupt them, but actually goes beyond a simple vibration of your smartphone. So I think
but you're also adding the emotional aspects of it, because it's really, you're extending your emotions toward those close to you and to people that are part of your group, in the case of the project per se, with the kids and getting involved, being able to send personal messages. It's kind of like we're in a selected group, and this is, so that makes it.
Yeah, and we're getting some wonderful
comment about
questions
Brian's
and points in here.
comment when it comes to childcare and on the playground and stuff. If you look up above us right now on the amount of people that are in here, there's 18 people in here. That's where it would be really sweet to have that thing connected with GPS, and all those little kids would show up as dots, and the computer system already knows, okay, there's 25 kids that checked into this classroom today. Where are those 25 dots? And the thing would just automatically group them and say, okay, there's 25 kids accounted for. They're right over there on the playground.
Yeah, that's what the GPS tracking. Yeah.
But then again, I'm a genius.
Oh, jeez.
Well, great points and questions. Just a couple of things that I'm
going to step out and maybe let somebody else
on the feed as well.
Thank you, Donald.
Okay, great.
So
one
other question before I go. What is the price point per unit?
Yeah, $59 is the wearable device price point. It'll probably go down from that later, but right now we're trying to get the funding, to be able to create the tooling and everything to make this available. So that's kind of included in that price point. But
you're going
something
to
around
produce it in what location? Where are you going to be producing them, manufacturing them? Overseas?
Well, right now the manufacturing bids and quotes, we plan to produce in the U.S. At least the initial 3,000, 5,000, or however many we're going to be able to produce to get in the hands of users right away. So right now, one of our company platforms is to try to leverage and empower the American worker. So we're going to do our best to do that. But of course, we're going to have to be competitive, and we're going to have to be cost effective as well.
Those things don't always go hand in hand.
Understood.
Yeah.
We're going to.
Okay. Well, nice.
Best. So do you think? Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Donald. So let me address a couple of these questions that have floated up, Brian, because I don't want to ignore the feed that we're getting. So some people asking a good question is, what's the difference in using a TACpuck and maybe the old-fashioned pagers, for example? And I'm not sure. I never had a pager, but I know a pager vibrated and it could make a noise maybe, but it still required you to look at it to see what the message was. And in many cases, it was just a phone number that you were supposed to dial when the pager sent out a message. TACpuck's much smaller, much more discreet, and I don't think we've talked about this on this blab, but it has a combination of stimuli available, not just vibration. That's the one we talk about the most, but remember that it also has the light feature, the LED light feature. It has a pop-out button where actually the side of the tack puck will pop out, and you'd actually feel a nudge from the button as well. And we talked about sound tones and the fact that the vibrations are not just the same vibration all the time. There's different intensity levels and different patterns that can be developed. And there's research that shows that just common everyday users are able to recognize up to 30 to 50 vibration patterns alone, just in a matter of minutes or maybe hours, be able to learn those patterns. So we talked a little bit about smell. Yes, in the future and included in the patent is the opportunity to apply a small sticker to your tack puck at the beginning of the day. But right now, you get to control what smell you want to smell during the day. If you apply a sticker that's got vanilla in it, or the smell of a rose, or Chanel No. 5, whatever your favorite is, then that could be incorporated in messages that other people are sending to you. That works quite simply through a warming device that's in the puck, so you'll be able to feel warmth, and the warmth will emit a smell from the sticker itself. We also have shock, what we call spark, as an option as well for the stimuli in development for the future. But we wanted to keep the original puck and get that in the hands of the users with a less number of different stimuli to be able to design.
Well, I actually think the pager is a very great example in the sense that we built in our own code, right? So I was a pager wearing millennial. It's my tagline. It's actually in my book of one of the chapters is the idea of being a pager wearing millennial. And for me, the pager element of it is actually really interesting because there was a special array of numbers that I would actually get message from either my mom, my brother. It wasn't a phone number, because a phone number just meant I had to go to a payphone and then call, right? So I would actually get a unique combination of numbers that meant something, right? So that's kind of that's even how drug dealers use it, right? So the idea of a drug dealer was the drug dealer would get a certain message and they would know that where the drop spot is, all those kind of things. So the idea of messaging in a customized message that was unique between the sender and the receiver is not only not new, but it's something that we kind of lost touch in because we went to this idea of devices and the things that we're kind of talking about today. So I think ultimately the thing that we have to keep in remember in this is it's not just vibration. It's not just one way. So I think April had actually asked the question. So the message can actually be sent to anybody who has this. So I could send this device to one person, but everyone who has the smartphone could actually send this one person a message. So that message can be a many to one relationship. But you, as the wearer, can actually send the message back, notifying them that you actually received the message. So those are things that did not exist, not only in the pager space, but if you think about it this way, the pager was a device you wore on your hip that was this big. So this is something that can go in jewelry. It can go inside of a badge. It can go inside of something on your wrist. It could go stitched inside of clothing. So the idea here of taking that kind of to the next level of that unique messaging, even in a pager system, I think is actually unique because remember, I think part of the reason we loved pagers, besides the fact that the smartphone didn't exist at the time, was that it was a message and a communication without completely disrupting what we were doing at that moment, right? The joke for me was when I had a pager, I was working at a skating rink and I was a DJ at a skating rink. And that says a lot about my, so I was 16 years old, but I would get a page. And if I was a phone call, the phone came later where I had a Razr smartphone. My Razr smartphone, I would not pick up the phone call because I'm DJing and music, but I could get messages on my device. The problem was I could never, on my pager, let the receiver know that I actually saw the message without picking up my phone and actually calling them. Mm-hmm. So I actually think of that as a very interesting kind of conversation when we go that. So someone had actually asked if there was a tactile repeat built into the actual message.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean by that question, but if you send a tactile message and you're receiving it, think of it like the ringing on your phone. The pattern that would be sent wouldn't be just sent one time. It'd be sent as many times as you set your phone to do it. So it could be like, hey, I want to hear this 3 times. I want to feel this message 3 times. And then if you miss that message, you'd be able to go back in, look at your phone and say, okay, now I know who it was from and what the message was. So it's kind of left up to the users. It does have that feature, but it would be something that the user would control. It's something that we've built into TACTspace in the design is we always want the user that is the person that owns the TACPUG and has the TACTspace app to control who sends you a message. So Brian, I knew what you meant earlier, but no one's going to be able to send you a TAC message unless you put them as your contact, unless you agree up front that you're one of my buddies, one of my friends, and I want you to be able to send and receive TAC messages with me. Number two, you control the stimuli that you want to receive. So if you don't want to receive shock or spark messages, then you simply set your phone, send me all the messages, but any that include the spark, leave the spark out. So we want to make sure that people are able to control how their device is used, and that, you know, abuse from outsiders will be prevented. Other people have brought up the deaf market. So here we're talking about people that are blind or deaf and not able to simply read message like we have the luxury of doing every day. The answer is yes, that's a wonderful application, and I have engaged with the American Federation of the Blind. We actually think that blind people and sight impaired people would be excellent people to have on staff to help us determine which are the best stimuli patterns to use for different messages, because their other senses are enhanced. So another great idea there. Back to the idea of the pager. Again, a pager you still had to pick up and look at, or at least view it. I want you to be able to wear this in your pocket, in your sock, in some place that you don't even need to get to and look at during the day. And over time, be able to have completely discrete messages that no one will know you received. And for others, think about that don't care that it's discrete. They would actually want to see their necklace flash and vibrate and do wonderful things, because they want their friends to say, hey, what's going on there? And you'd be able to say, well, my boyfriend just sent me a message, or my girlfriend was just saying that she's thinking of me, or my kid just let me know that he got to school okay. All those are. So,
and I think, something that we've kind of learned throughout this Indiegogo campaign is in the idea where, part of it we were discussing, the target audience, and the target audience, I think, for the basic communications, like taking a Snapchat, a unique message that is dissolvable and only aware between 1-to-1 is something that we kind of were talking about, that younger millennial, even a Gen Z. The idea of what we kind of morphed and learned through, I think, Blab especially, was the audience kind of took this and said, okay, there's education uses, there's military uses, there's healthcare uses. Lindsay, Ohio Social Mom, a shout out to her being one of the first people that jumped on the Blab and said, hey, wait a second, my child suffers from some of these diseases that I would love to be able to calm him down, and he needs something that is a message or a way to allow him to kind of recenter himself. Focus. And I think that is a lesson learned. I think something that we've kind of taken away, from this campaign, although not funded, is that not the use cases. I think whenever Eddie, you and I first connected, where we were thinking these ideas, but I don't know where the initial buy-ins of all these places were going to go for funding it to get it out there. Because I think initially it's that initial funding that says, okay, now we can produce these, now we can get it into different hands of people and let them actually implement it. So I love this dialogue. I mean, the dialogue today, this is maybe one of our best blabs, in the fact that not only the conversation of people having, but kind of going back and forth and expanding on saying, well, why would I need this? I already have text messaging. And then the thought process goes kind of above and beyond that. And then it goes into either a one-to-many or many-to-many relationship. So, I mean, I think there's lots of things. And then, of course, Mark just said something that I love, if this, then that integration. So I'm a huge if this, then that fan. So so my Pebble Watch, it allows you to put notifications on it for Twitter. But if I had my Twitter notifications on my wrist, I believe my wrist would vibrate all day long, and I would be,
it's no wonder your phone's
that would really crush me. But I actually set up if this, then that actually allows me to say, if someone messages me on Twitter and they're in this private Twitter list and they use this terminology, alert my watch, because then it's what I consider a prioritized message. Yeah. But that limitation only goes to me vibrating of my watch or the light turning on my watch, right? So, and it doesn't have a way for me to click it here and notify the sender that was actually sending me that unique message that I received it, and those kind of things. So I think this is very interesting. I am sad that the Indiegogo campaign did not get funded. I think it was definitely a hard fought effort, and the team that the marketing team that you put behind it, I thought did an amazing job. If you guys haven't gone to the site, I put the site out there. I'll put it again. the videos that are on the site are really good on explaining really not only what the value is, but how it works, some of the use cases. We also will have all the videos of these blabs. So I think it's 7 blabs that we've done on this technology. We're going to have those up on the TACTspace YouTube page. And Eddie, as we kind of wrap this up, one of my favorite things for you is you've always said, hey, reach out to me as use cases. If someone has an idea, if they want to connect me with someone in an association or someone with a different area. So if you're watching this now or you're watching this on replay, make sure you reach out to Eddie, because I believe it's a step in the process of the Indiegogo not being funded today, but also the learning of the use cases, learning of the target audience, learning even where the message is best received. We were joking, like time of day. We've done a blab at 6 p.m. at night. We've done it at 9 a.m. We've done it. You're in Arizona. It's early in the morning, your time. But I think a lot of this kind of conversation goes into where we can learn, where we can take this to, and then how we can get people to actually pull the trigger and fund. Because ideally, although that there's lots of these great use cases, it either has to be individual users funding this campaign and sending it. Like, so for me, purchasing a TAC puck for me, I purchased 2 of them, and it was pretty simple. My mom complains that I don't message her enough, and my grandmother, who is now in a care, and my grandfather's not around, I could send her messages. I could even have it on my daughter's iPod touches. So my daughter has an iPod touch, my 5-year-old, and I could say, hey, send grandma your message. And she could know, log in the app and click her message. Grandma gets a message that says, your granddaughter is thinking of you. So for me, that was kind of the use cases that I kind of took this towards. So I think hopefully we will be moving forward and get some more of these use cases ideas. But if you're listening to this, if you have some ideas, make sure to reach out to Eddie at the TACTspace Twitter handle. Just send him a DM. He'll get back to you, and we can kind of go from there and kind of take this above and beyond. Because I think we are onto it. We're seeing lots of great ideas and lots of great things. So Eddie, I'll kind of give you the last words as we kind of sign off for this one for the day. But I do appreciate all the dialogue and ideas that have come through.
Yeah, I thought it was a great blab. Just let me just briefly mention some things again. Thanks to you, Brian, for bringing this platform to us, because before we met, I'd never heard of Periscope or blab. And being able to use someone like you that understands technology, that believes in family, friends, and faith, and reaching out, let others know that you care, has been a real good ride, for me, and having you as a friend is one of the best things in the whole TACTspace process. And again, I got to thank everybody that's joined these blabs, given us great advice. We go down one path, we think we know one thing, but fortunately I don't suffer from a real big ego, so I'm happy to listen to what other people have to say and what their applications they see are most pertinent and available going forward. Our audience has the best ideas. We need to listen to them. And the last thing I would say is, even though we weren't funded in the Indiegogo campaign, we're sad about that, but we're not giving up. I mean, TACTspace and the TAC puck is now registered as a patented technology. We're getting the recognition. I've been here in Phoenix now for several months, and I'm finding it to be a really good hotbed for development work. I'm excited about that, and hopefully being able to find the right partner, the right investor to be able to get the prototypes off the ground. And we will engage, our community that's following us again, and bring them this technology. So it's a pivot point for us. It's not an end. We don't give up that easily. And I would just thank everybody and tell them, spend some time on the website and check out the videos, and you'll be able to see what this technology is all about. Tell a little bird, tell your friends, and get them as well to provide us feedback. You can contact us real easily from the website. There's a contact button. Send a note, and it'll come right to me. Thanks again for all your time, and until we get together again.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day, everybody. Make it a good one.